Let's go, girls. Come on.
From New York City to Los Angeles, Powered Up with Beck and Franklin is giving women of all ages permission to live the life they've always dreamed of. Why live in black and white when you can choose the brilliance of 3D and Technicolor? Each week, Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin and their high-powered guests will be here to cheer you on, to share their challenges, their successes, and what they've learned along the way. It's all about women supporting women. The stories and practical tips on sex, beauty, money, and so much more are designed to help you reconnect to the powerful woman you are. Fabulous knows no limits. Now it's time for you to expand your boundaries. Here are Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin.
Hey ladies, this is Sandra Beck and I'm here with Linda Franklin, and we've got a great show today because we're going to welcome on tarot card reader. Linda, isn't that exciting?
Yeah, well, you know I always love that stuff, so I'm anxious to hear how she kind of transferred careers from something that was, you know, PR and journalistic and into that. So that's always an interesting story to hear why that happened.
Isn't it, though? You know, you think, like I think of, you know, the show we did with was it Gail Minogue, the numerologist, and how she was, you know, a Wall Street mucky-muck and then became a numerologist, which I just think is fascinating.
Yeah, well, you know, I think, you know, something must hit you in your life when you realize that there's something more to it, and I'm going to follow my passion rather than what's expected of me. I was listening to Wayne Dyer last night. He was on our channel 13, which is public television, and he, you know, I love watching him. He's fabulous. So he had a whole new seminar series on with that, and you know, he just communicates all of that so well.
You know, I'm not real familiar with his work. You know, what is he, when you say he communicates, what did you get out of it?
Well, he's been doing it for, you know, 40 years. It's just about what's important, how to tap into what's important. You know, it's really the spiritual part of your being, which is, in my estimation, the most important part of your being. And, you know, he's written like 28 books, and he's just a great communicator of how to, you know, kind of be at peace with yourself and be on the right track, I guess the soul track.
Well, and that's such an important thing, you know, the soul track, because when we start out in life, you know, we're taught so much to go, oh, well, you know, what is important to you and what are you good at and, you know, what do you want to do? And I think, you know, it's really hard these days. There's a lot of pressure to be what people want you to be. And maybe there always has been. I don't know.
Well, I think, you know, probably the biggest pressure is the pressure that you have with your own ego, because the ego gets in the way all the time, and it wants what it wants, but it isn't necessarily what you need. And he was giving a little example last night on television. He had written, maybe it was in the early days, he had written a book, and the book was on the New York Times bestseller list, which most of his books are. And so he was out of town, I guess, doing a tour or something, and he called up his wife, and he had looked, and he said, "Am I, you know, I didn't. Is the book on? Am I, you know, I didn't see it. Am I on the New York Times bestseller list this week?" And she said, "No, you're not on the bestseller list this week. Your book is on the bestseller list this week." And that, you know, that kind of, you know, put him in check. It's things like that say, okay, yeah, it's not me. It's what I wrote. So, you know, get off your high horse.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Speaking of high horses, did you watch the Oscars this weekend?
I did watch the Oscars. I kind of switch off. I like the red carpet thing, and I wanted to hear Ellen, and then I was, you know, switching back and forth because, you know, a lot of it gets very boring. But you know, and
it does get boring.
And you see so much of it afterwards anyway, and all the shows that, you know, give you the highlights. So I fell asleep before Best Actor and Best Picture and all of that. But, it was kind of predictable this year.
It was very predictable this year. And I thought it was kind of uninspiring and uninteresting. There wasn't any really big story that I was going to... Yeah, I didn't even watch it this year.
Well, it's interesting to watch. I like the red carpet to see how everybody looks. And then, there's always, the ones that look gorgeous always look gorgeous, and they're just, I guess anybody could look gorgeous if you had the attention that they had a week or two or a month before, between all the face stuff that they do and then the perfect dresses and the jewelry and the hair. I mean, everybody looked pretty beautiful. But then there was a couple that didn't, and those are the ones that, Liza Minnelli was, I think Ellen sort of intimated in her monologue that she looked more like a Liza Minnelli drag queen impersonator. Which Ellen she got criticized for. And then Matthew McConaughey, who I absolutely love, came to present an award, and he came out with Kim Novak. Do you remember Kim Novak?
Sure.
Yeah, well, it was hard to recognize her because I think she's 81 now, but she's had some really, really bad stuff done on her face, and it's kind of sad, but it's understandable because she was so beautiful, and I guess she did everything just on her looks. So when that fades away, that you do and that's all you want to get it back, but you do irreparable damage because you end up looking really, really scary.
Yeah, well, that's how I feel every time I see Goldie Hawn or Sylvester Stallone. They just look like they were melted into rubber and somebody, glued their face back on. And I enjoy both of them as performers. But, when you see them, even when they're photographed, they look awful. You see them in person, which I've seen in L.A. a couple times. It just made me feel sad because, these are beloved, actors and archetypes of our time. And they just, they look like they went through a horror movie.
Yes, that's why we always say it's really important which if you're going to do something that you pick the right doctor to do it, because otherwise they can really do a really bad number on your face, and once it's done, you really can't fix it. It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. And I can, and it's awful for us to sit here and dish on the air, about these celebrities. There's just so much unbelievable pressure, and I would watch them. I know a fair amount of A-list celebrities myself, and I actually, would feel bad for them, like when their kids couldn't trick or treat without, being molested, or their, photographers were at every turn. But when you get ready for the Oscars, I thought this year the fashions were boring. Everybody seemed to be really conservative. Even Lady Gaga, I was so excited to see what she was going to wear, and, she looked nice. But there wasn't any fun this year. I thought everybody was kind of conservative and elegant, and that was very nice for a cocktail party. But this is Hollywood. I want to see some fun stuff.
Well, this year it was back to old-fashioned glam, and some of the dresses were quite beautiful. But that's the Oscars. To be honest with you, I'm very glad they're over because we don't have to hear about it anymore.
That's true. It does absolutely, saturate the markets out here. And it's funny because, we had these tremendous rainstorms out here in Southern California. And, we had mudslides and, it was just a mess. And, even our own newscasters, all they were talking about is like, oh, my God, what's going to happen to their beautiful gown in the rain? And come on now.
Yeah, people are forced out of their houses, but what's going to happen to the gowns? Believe me, that was so well protected between the tents and the this and the everything. I think the red carpet was cared for more than a football field before a big game. Not a drop of water was going to hit that red carpet.
That's right. I mean, it's like, and they're going to have fans to keep, blowing anything, to the side. And I mean, I've been to the Oscars a few times, and it's, it was exciting to see everybody, but, it was really boring, and you couldn't get up to go to the bathroom. I mean, they just...
Oh, that would be bad.
That was bad.
Well, is it true that when you get up to go to the bathroom, you have to have someone to fill in your seats so there's no empty seats?
Well, yeah, and what they did was they herded us like cattle. Now, granted, this was probably 15 years ago when I went, but, the two times I was there, I sat there and then, me, I had 9 Diet Cokes before I go anywhere. And,
that's bad.
Yeah, and and finally, they let everybody take a bathroom break on commercial, and it was just, I don't know. I guess it's so funny. We talk so much about authenticity, and here are these stars looking authentically beautiful, and I'm bored. So I guess I'm never going to be satisfied.
No, it's a boring show. It really is. But everybody, it gets so much hype, and I think people like me tune in more to watch what people are wearing rather than who's getting an award. So
yeah,
but award season is over, and I guess we have to wait till September. Well, no, the Tonys are coming up, but the Tonys don't get. That's for Broadway. They don't get the hype. It comes on. It's terrific, and then we wait for the Emmys. But it's I saw a couple of the movies. It's been so cold here that I don't even want to leave the house. It's like walking out into an ice box. It's just crazy. So over the weekend on demand, I watched a couple of the movies. I watched Blue Jasmine. Did you ever see that one?
I haven't seen anything but SpongeBob for like 8 years.
Oh, okay. Do you have those special things? Could you have on demand on your television? Or you get such lousy reception out there.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It's like I actually do have on demand, and it's so funny, Linda, because I have Amazon Video, I have Netflix Video, I have satellite dish. What I don't have is the energy at 9:00. The minute I sit down to watch a movie at night, I'm lights out.
Yeah, well, that's usually me too. Especially if I'm in bed and watching television, I call that my sleeping pill, because it just it puts me to sleep, which is not the worst thing in the world. It's certainly better than Ambien, right?
That's right. The magic pill for me is if I put on like one of those ocean documentaries with the breaching whales and the beautiful Alaska scenery, I'm out in like 6 minutes, and the kids are like, "Oh no, get the whale off the TV! Mom's gonna fall asleep."
They know their mom.
They do. Well, listen, I got to take us to commercial break. My name is Sandra Beck. I'm here with Linda Franklin, and we are Powered Up Talk Radio. And when we come back from the break, we are going to welcome Robbie Ann McPherson. And she is an amazing lady who has this outstanding media credentialed career, and she checked it all to become a solution-oriented tarot card reader. So as always, we brought something outstanding, something different, a little fun, so you're not going to want to miss it after the break.
We've got lots more Powered Up with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
What does reboot mean? Ever wonder why your connection to the world through your computer does not work as flawlessly as most of your ability to breathe? ISP Radio Network explains the why and how the internet works. Learn the inside and secrets that your internet provider may not be telling you or even want you to know. Gain the confidence to proclaim that you are no longer technically illiterate. You may call him a techno gearhead or network guru, but Stephen Graybill, your host, is a person driven by a passion to serve people fast internet, as well as empowering internet users with simple skills to maintain their fast internet. This is ISP Radio Network, a place where internet service providers and the self-proclaimed technically challenged users of the internet meet weekly to share ideas of what makes the internet work or how to make the internet work better. Don't miss ISP Radio with your host, Stephen Graybill, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Central, right here on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Are you ready to start rocking that woo-hoo that only you do? Because Lisa Stedman is on a mission. She will dare you, challenge you, enlighten you, provoke, and empower you to bring out that inner woo-hoo. Lisa is an internationally acclaimed best-selling author. She is a breakup expert, a brand consultant, CEO of Woohoo Inc. and the Woohoo Radio Network. She will show you how to take your boo-hoo and turn it into woo-hoo woohoo, get rebellious, and get real. Get your dreams off the back burner. Get inspired and motivated to take action. Start rocking that woohoo that only you do. In love, life, and business. She is going to be here for you every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Only here on the Woohoo Radio Network.
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's some more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin, and we are visiting with Robbie McPherson today, and I just got to let her introduce herself, because what she does and what she has done from the age of 40 is so amazing to me. Robbie, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for letting everyone know that I am, in fact, over 40.
Sorry about that. This is, 40-something talk radio. But I do think it's amazing. I want you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about your journey and how you came to where you are today.
Sure. I was born... No, I don't think we need to go back that far. I'll condense it this much. I went into a career in public relations and spent a little time in journalism, writing for a newspaper, spent a little time as a TV journalist as well, and a little time as corporate PR person. But my whole life, I've had this kind of strange connection to stuff. And when I was a little kid, I just kind of thought that everybody interacted that way, and everyone saw the world that way, and everyone felt the things that I did. So, you get older and you realize that's not the case. And recently, I've kind of taken a bit of a left turn. When I was 40, I packed up my cat and my belongings from Los Angeles, where I loved living, and moved to Montana to be a TV reporter. I knew no one at all. And it was a pretty scary adventure. Although at the time, I was just concentrated on getting it done, get the move done. So I did that. And while I was in Montana, I had a lot of sort of revelations, a lot of challenges. The experience was a very tough one in many ways, and rewarding and all that, challenging in good ways, but it was very difficult also. And that kind of, those things, when you face them, they really make you reevaluate. And so I moved back home to Buffalo and sort of bounced around a little bit here with a couple of 9-to-5 PR jobs, and struck out on my own. And this tarot thing, which I've been tinkering with since I was a teenager, it just kept knocking on my door. And I never put them away. I never stopped reading the cards, but I never really made a business out of it, so to speak, or a service, let's put it that way. And so I just kind of said, you know what? I'm not having a whole lot of luck here with the 9-to-5 world, and I've been on a million interviews and nobody's hiring me, and I'm gonna see what I can do with this. So it's actually been a pretty cool experience. I'm really enjoying it. So that's kind of how I got to be here in this chair talking to you guys on your show right now.
In Buffalo.
Yeah,
in cold, snowy,
Buffalo.
miserable Buffalo.
Yeah.
I can say that. Sandra's from Buffalo, and I'm originally from Toronto.
Oh, okay.
So we're all of us gals are in that same area, which is interesting.
Toronto is such a great city. I love Toronto.
I know. Well, when I was a kid in Toronto, we always used to go to Buffalo for the shopping, and I think now it's probably the other way around. They come to Toronto for the shopping.
Yeah, we actually. It's funny. We do get a lot of Canadian shoppers that come over, especially to the outlet mall in Niagara Falls. Here,
yeah,
we have a designer outlet mall, and our attitude, they do the thing where they take the tags off and change their clothes, so they don't have to pay the
that's right.
and the duty.
So they don't have customs.
Right. And everyone here is sort of like, hey, you know what? If you want to come here and spend your money, come on down.
That's right.
So that's kind of how we look at it.
When you were reading your own cards, like you said, since you were a teenager, did your card, and then you went to Montana, or you went to L.A. and then you went to Montana, did you see anything in the cards that indicated how that would turn out, or isn't that the purpose of the cards?
I did. And it's funny because I usually tell people when I give a reading to ask as narrow a question as possible, because in my experience, the cards always tell you so much information. And so if you ask, sort of a broad question, you just get tons of stuff and you're not really sure where it applies all the time. You can get impressions and everything, but sometimes it isn't quite clear. And I remember reading my cards about the Montana trip, and I remember turning up some pretty scary cards, but I also turned up some pretty powerful cards, like aces that tell of a new beginning. And I remember I got the death card a lot, which is a card of just complete and utter, rising from the ashes, so to speak. And I remember I did get the Tower too, which is probably the worst card in the deck that you can get. But I did it anyway because you can't really live your life by in my opinion, it's never wise to say to the cards, what should I do, and then make a decision solely based on what you see. You have your own free will. You have to look at your own situation. And sometimes, you are supposed to make that awful mistake. Sometimes you are supposed to go through that terrible thing. We don't know why. We unfortunately can't sit down and talk to God and ask him what the heck he was thinking. But I found that very often when I look back at readings, there were things that I missed, and I'm like, wow, I should have caught that. And then there are other things that were just dead on. It's a very gray area. It's all very gray and very blurry, and I think it's important to approach it all that way from both sides. It's supposed to be kind of mysterious.
Well, what I like about the readings that I've had with you, Robbie, is even when there are, challenges that come up, like you've done a bunch of readings for me and over the years, and, sometimes you'll flag me that there's a challenge ahead, and it's interesting because when you do that and I face the challenge, I feel prepared for it, and I'm not caught unaware. And I want to ask you, you call yourself a solution-oriented tarot card reader. And that's really different than the fortune-telling woo-woo. And I know, this is for entertainment purposes, but what does that mean to be solution-oriented in your tarot card reading? Because I love that. It's like a mixture of corporate and woo-woo.
Well, I'm disappointed not to be woo-woo. I want to be woo-woo. No, I'm just kidding. I think there are a lot of people out there, unfortunately, who are unscrupulous and who know how to sort of read people's clues, their faces, body language. The people that sit with you and say, is there a Marvin? Is there a Martin? Is there a Margaret? Is there, and they just keep on going until you go, oh yeah. there are a lot of people out there that prey on the type of people that come to a psychic or a tarot card reader or whatever it might be. Because usually people are seeking an answer to something. And the way that I approach it, I like to be sort of a vessel, whatever powers are out there, whatever you believe in, I think you bring with you when you sit down for a reading. So, if you sit down across from me and you're a Christian or you're a Jew or you're a Muslim or whatever it is, you're bringing your own spirituality into the reading. And I think that's very important. So whatever I can do to be a vessel to help you find a solution to something, I don't know where the impressions come from that I get. I know that I can look at the cards and say, this card means this card means that. I have no explanation for it. It's kind of a beautiful mystery to me. But I definitely believe that there is some kind of energy or presence that's out there, and somehow I'm able to tap into it and interpret a solution for a dilemma. If someone comes, sometimes people sit down and they say, oh, I just want to know, I don't get along with this lady at work, and I just want to know what's going on with her. And so I lay the cards out. And I'm looking at the cards and I'm like, this is not about a lady at work. This woman is trapped in a loveless marriage, and we need to figure this out. And that's always tricky too, is, what do you bring up? What do you broach? Some people will deny things. Some people don't want to talk about things. So, however I can help someone to find a solution to whatever it is that they're seeking, give them insight. I wouldn't call myself a fortune teller. I don't really play in the stock and trade of here's what's coming up, like you're going to meet a tall, dark stranger or something like that. But I definitely try to examine the problem and see what impressions I get, and in any way that I can possibly help. That's my goal.
I think that's terrific. I'd like to hear more about solution-oriented tarot card reading when we come back from the break. My name is Sandra Beck. I'm here with Linda Franklin. And when we come back from the break, we're going to find out what brave thing Robbie has done recently with respect to her business that's going to inspire us and others to be our best.
We've got lots more Powered Up with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
This is for all you girls about 42. Tossing pennies into the fountain of youth.
Get ready for Wise Up Radio, leveraging your learning, leadership, and legacy with Donna Kimbrand, the Edgy Evolutionary, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, here on the Rockstar Radio Network. If you're an entrepreneurial leader or visionary, stay ahead of your game with insights, tools, and strategies that give you the thought leader's edge. Each week, join Donna and her guests as she'll ask the edgy questions, help you discover game-changing shortcuts to better thinking and learning, how to explore the ripple effects of leadership excellence, and how to create your life as a living legacy, where the legacy you leave is the life you live. As thought leaders, you need strategies to help you enjoy the confidence and thrill of riding the wave of rapid change. For more on Donna, check out her website, GameChangerThinking.com. Then join the conversation and sharpen up your wits on Wise Up Radio with Donna Kimbrand, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, here on the Rockstar Radio Network. Spirituality and wealth, are you keeping them separate? On the Spiritual and Wealthy Show, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, Deborah Atienne Wilson, known as the Intuitive Spiritual and Wealth Coach, enjoys kicking the old mindset to the curb that life needs to be spiritual or wealthy, when you can actually be both. Listen to the only spiritual and wealthy show for Deborah's playful, practical bottom line, cutting-edge wisdom to help you create the life you want and the life that you deserve. What does prosperity mean to you? How do you feel about being wealthy? Deborah's Spiritual and Wealthy Show is about thinking and feeling differently about prosperity and wealth and how they are one. By being more playful about the ideas of spirituality and wealth and not taking ourselves so seriously. The Spiritual and Wealthy Show will support you through Deborah Atian Wilson's raw, authentic, and tell it like it is trademark radio style. Heard every Wednesday here on the Rockstar Radio Network.
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's some more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
This is for all you girls about 42.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin, and this is Powered Up Talk Radio. And our guest today is Robbie Ann McPherson. She is a tarot card reader, and she has left her career for as a news reporter and became a tarot card reader. And Robbie, I want to ask you a little bit about finding your place in the world. I know you have helped me a lot with your readings to help me find my place. How did you find your place in the world?
Oh my gosh, by making 1,000 wrong turns. I just have made so many left turns, and I was always following my instincts, and I was always following what I thought was a calling, or, I never really did anything without planning. But things never worked out the way I had it in my head. And I don't know if that ever really happens. Do either one of you know anyone who say in high school said, I'm going to do this, this is how my life's going to be, blah, 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 and it all worked out that way, I sure don't. So I think it was through a series of a lot of mistakes, and then when you're sort of sitting there amongst the rubble, and you sort of gather your thoughts, and you say, okay, what do I do now? And then you just find something. And I've always been pretty resilient, so I just kind of pick up and dust off and find a new direction. One thing that I have been good at in my life is not making the same mistake twice. That I've been very good at. So I don't know what's worse, making the same mistake twice, never risking anything and never making any mistakes, or making, the same mistake over and over again. But I'm definitely the first one. I just find new mistakes every day to make. But, you make the lemonade, right?
Well, maybe they're not mistakes. Maybe they're just learning experiences. And if we can learn to look at the things that don't work out quite the way we thought as good things instead of bad things, I think we'd be all would be a lot better off, because they're all part of our path. And you asked a question about some people that that knew what they wanted to do and did it and were successful at it. Yeah, and more people are in the camp of of what you said. Trying something, it didn't work, trying something, it didn't work, trying something, it didn't work. But there are those people out there that knew from the time they were a little kid that this is what I wanted to do, and they went along that path because that was sort of their soul path, their spiritual path, and they just did it, whether it be a Steven Spielberg or a Bill Gates, or they knew. They did what they loved, and I think if you do what you love, that you're going to be okay at it.
Yeah,
or better than okay.
I agree 100%, and that's a great point too. Is is sort of not looking at them as mistakes. I mean, my sense of humor is usually what carries me through something that's tough, but I look back at many situations, and I think I have a pretty clear view of the times where something was totally not my fault, just something that happened. And then there are those times where I made a terrible decision. But even those times, as you said, it's a learning experience because you make the decision based on the information you have at the time. And, how do you know that this is or that is going to happen down the line? But I would take it one step further though with the people that, like the incredible artists and those just touched people, the Spielbergs or the Paul McCartneys. And I think I would venture to say at least that maybe things sort of happened the way they wanted them to, but it doesn't always turn out the way they wanted it to. Do you know what I mean? Where you often see that story of, somebody who supposedly has it all and, they have sad problems or, something, they're not happy on the inside, and you think, my God, how can you not be happy? You have everything you've ever wanted. You have everything you've ever had. And I think there still is within even some of those people where they just sit there and they say, wow, I'm in the huge mansion. I'm an incredible success. I have all these awards. I have the beautiful wife and the Rolls Royce, and I'm still not happy. I think there are those people too. The ones that I trip out on are the ones that, where you can just tell, like, they have just self-actualized. I mean, Paul McCartney to me is one of those people where he just takes a bite out of life, at least, I mean, I don't know him, but, he seems that way to me. And I look at him and I think, wow, I mean, he hasn't been without his challenges. But he's somebody that's been an incredible success and just seems to have really enjoyed it, or Mick Jagger, I think, is another one. All rock stars. Maybe there's something to be said for that.
What do you think, Robbie, is the hardest thing about your business? Like, when you read somebody, do you ever get unwanted information, or do you ever get blocked, where you can't connect, or is it just like, you kind of dial into a TV station and listen?
No, it's a little more random than that. You do have to kind of make, a sort of little adjustment and kind of tune in, but sometimes it isn't there. Sometimes you can't connect, and sometimes I can think of one particular reading where something turned up, and it was a really serious issue with the person, and I didn't know quite how to bring it up, I mean, it was a very personal, serious thing, and I had this impression, and I thought, oh my God, what if I'm wrong? What if I say this to this person and say, is this going on? And they just look at me like, what? Because it was just, it wasn't good. And I don't mean a future thing, but like something happening then. And so I just thought, well, I'm going to hang on to it for a minute. And sure enough, halfway through the reading, she brought it up. And she said something, and I thought, wow, I apparently I was right about that. So yeah, there are certain times where there's something sort of difficult. But if you're referring to the future, like, if you see something unpleasant or whatever, no, there's always a way to present it, because as Linda said, everything is kind of, it can be a teaching moment. And so if there's a challenge up ahead, as you pointed out too, look out for this pothole. And somehow the pothole isn't as awful if you see it coming, So sometimes there's that as well.
I have a question. I had my cards read, but I've always had my cards read to somebody that was right there with me, because I thought it was the energy, that your energy that picked out the cards that you were, I guess supposed to pick out, and then you sit back and just listen. But when you do it over the phone, how do you do that? How do you get the person's energy to pick out the cards rather than you? Does that make any sense to you?
Sure. In fact, I wasn't sure that it would work. First time I did it. I've done it through Skype, so there is a video connection. Mm-hmm. I've never actually done one just on the phone, so that's a good question. I know that on Skype, what I've found, there's a much more powerful connection in person between myself and another, and the person that I'm reading, depending on the person. So it can be, I've had readings in person where I could tell, they were holding something back and they were maybe not comfortable with the process, which I understand because, as Sandy said, the whole woo-woo, I'm still uneasy with it myself. I don't dress like Stevie Nicks. All due respect to Stevie Nicks, who's a superstar and I love her, but I don't, I don't look like her or wear those beautiful dresses and stuff. And I don't do, I don't have a crystal ball, and, I'm just kind of a normal person. So when I do something through Skype, I guess I'm searching for the answer as I'm talking here. You know what? The short answer is it really depends on the person. I mean, I'm flipping through my experiences here, and I've had Skype readings where, it felt like the person was right here and the energy was really powerful. And I was really in tune. And then I've had readings in person where I was kind of like, this is all I've got, like I can't connect with this other situation, or this is all I'm picking up, or something like that. So, the phone thing though, we'll have to do that, Linda.
We have to try it out.
We can try it on the phone. We'll see if I can do it.
I'm game.
Yeah. You guys, I got to take us to commercial break. My name is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin, and this is Powered Up Talk Radio. And from coast to coast, we've got you covered on everything from money, sex, beauty, love, anti-aging, and today we're talking about tarot card reading with Robbie Ann McPherson. If you want to learn more about Robbie, you can go to Which Way Do You Go, Tarot, TAROT.com. She's a solution-oriented tarot card reader. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about sisterhood and about the creation of a sisterhood using our spiritual and our physical bodies.
With Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
Chances are you didn't give birth to Einstein. So why are you trying to raise your child to be like him? Welcome to Stop Raising Einstein with your host, Tara Kennedy Klein, Woohoo Radio Network's parenting show dedicated to helping you release the myth of the perfect parent and discover the unique brilliance in your child and you. Tara and her panel of amazing, intelligent, and sometimes off-the-wall guests will share the tips, tools, trends, and techniques available that will help you stop raising Einstein and start relishing your role as a proud and present parent. Join her every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time for Stop Raising Einstein, only here on the Woohoo Radio Network.
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
this is Sandra Beck, and I am here with Linda Franklin, and this is Powered Up Talk Radio. And for those of you that have missed the first, 3/4 of today's show, you can find us on iTunes under Powered Up Talk Radio. You can also find us on the .com by the same name, powereduptalkradio.com. And you can go to our host station in Texas. Thank you very much, Sabrina, for another great show at TogiNet, TOGINET.com. Now, we've been visiting with Robbie Ann McPherson, and she's a really neat lady. She's a lady who left corporate America in Los Angeles at the age of 40 to become a Montana news reporter and then eventually a tarot card reader as her profession. And I really, really enjoy getting readings from Robbie because she's what we call a solution-oriented tarot card reader. So you go in to kind of talk to Robbie, and she runs your cards over Skype, which is really neat. I've never met anybody that did Skype reading, so I've had a lot of fun with you, Robbie. Can you tell people what it's like? I can say, what it's like from my experience, but, do people just call up and book a time and, do you read the cards right in front of them? Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Sure. Well, you just go to the website. As you said, that's Which Way Tarot, WHICH, as in which way do I go? And you can just do the thing through PayPal or whatever, and just call or email to schedule a reading, and then all we do is just hook up on Skype at the appointed time, and usually it's a flat rate. I don't like the whole charging by minute kind of a thing because that puts a really weird pressure on the reading. It just kind of, I'm not a big fan of that. So we just chat for, a minute or two, and it just helps me sort of plug in, like Linda, you were saying that, how does that work? And I guess that's a small piece of it, but I have to do that too when people come to my house. So, and then I just ask the person to basically come up with, a dilemma or an issue, try to make it as narrow focused as possible. It's never, in my opinion, a good idea to say to the cards, what should I do about something? Because you have your own free will. Free will is a gift that we all have as human beings. So you never really want to give that power to anybody. You don't want to give it to the strange thoughts in your head. If you get worried about something, or you know what I'm saying, like even as women, when we know the difference between the noise in our head and then the legitimate thoughts and reasons, right? So if you've got that free will, you want to guard it and make sure that that you keep your instincts separate. So we shuffle the cards. I'll shuffle them and I'll ask the person to sort of concentrate. They can tell me the problem or not. That doesn't really matter. And then I just lay the cards out. And then we just kind of have a conversation. Usually when I lay the cards out, one of them kind of pops out at me first. And so we'll start talking about that. And then we just kind of get into it. And I have to say, my readings are, they do tend to get a little deep, I guess. I seem to have a knack for uncovering family secrets and hidden things and pain and, call it a gift. But usually it ends up being a good thing because that's the solution that you're talking about. Maybe it's an issue. Maybe someone says, should I leave my husband? And I say, well, how about a better question? How about what is so about the relationship with my husband right now? What's going on? And so then we do a reading, and then it gives you a much different perspective and a lot more. And then it'll kind of give you a little nudge. Maybe you might want to think about this opportunity or that opportunity, but it's always up to you.
Do you need you're saying you're reading into people, you're getting their energy, and you're seeing or feeling things that are going on in their lives. Do you need the cards to do that, or can you do when you meet a person? Sometimes does that energy just come in and you get it without the cards?
I need the cards to sort of help me draw,
narrow it down.
Yeah, right. They tell me things that I couldn't possibly figure out.
I see.
They give me a little bit of a roadmap, I guess. But I definitely, ever since I was little, I just have a very strange connection to people. And, I've always been very kind of quiet about it because, it's sort of like that Peter Gabriel song, Salisbury Hill, where he says, my friends would think I was a nut, like I've really kept all of this very much to myself for many years, but
thank God the world is changing, and that's getting less and less because people are turning to the spiritual, to the things they don't know because life is so stressful and there's so much going on that they need that foundation.
Yeah, exactly. And when we look other places for solutions, we can't find them because if you have a problem and it's kind of in your spirit, obviously, I mean, I'm not going to knock having a glass of wine or a cocktail or something, but, you don't want to drown it out with alcohol or pills or, or some other behaviors, you want to solve it. And who do you see about that, right? Like the spirit doctor? So, I think you're right. I think as people sort of get caught up in this mad world, we all kind of realize, hey, wait a minute, my spirit is not well. And some people find the solace in a church, a Christian church, or priest, or or following the doctrine, the strict the rules. And some people find a lot of solace in that, and it helps them in their faith. And I totally respect that. And then other people, they're a little more like me, a little more outside the lines, dabbling in this kind of stuff. But I just have a strange connection especially when I first meet people. It's just a vibe. It's the only word I can come up with that makes any sense. But, I can't tell you the details. I might not know exactly where you're from or, or what your name is or something, but I can feel, I can kind of feel your spirit, and I can kind of feel if you're a good person or if you're angry, especially. I pick up on anger very easily. I don't know if you guys, have you guys ever heard of an empath?
Yes.
I'm definitely an empath, and going to the mall is like a nightmare because let me tell you, the mall is the most angry place on the planet. Everybody in the mall is angry. I walk in the mall and I just feel everybody's anger. I mean, it is nuts.
Yeah, and that's not a good place for you to be because you don't want to take that on. That's for sure.
That's a good question. Linda, it's so funny. We're in sync sometimes so well. Robbie, what do you do when you're reading someone or like you're in the mall? Like, how do you turn that stuff out? Like, how do you get rid of it? When you read somebody, like when you read me, one time you read me and you're like, oh my gosh, Sandra, there's so much grief. There's so much grief in there. And, you were right on. Of course, I started bawling. But how do you get rid of that? Like, you do something after you've done a reading to, like, cleanse yourself from everybody else's emotions?
Yeah, after our reading, I had to take a shower, Sandy. I mean, no, I'm kidding. I told you I use my sense of humor to cope. No, I actually don't really have to. It's a very, how can I explain it? It's sort of a cathartic thing because when, like when you work out and you have a really good workout and you feel sort of exhilarated and kind of fatigued at the same time, but it's more of a relaxation. You're just like, and you feel like you've kind of unloaded a burden. That's kind of how it feels. I don't think it necessarily, I absorb it. I think it goes kind of through me, or, I think it kind of goes through everybody. But I know when I go to the mall, let me tell you, the mall, my whole life, I never understood this when I was a kid. I really didn't. It freaked me out. And when I started to learn, and it was only recently, maybe the last 4 years, and I started to understand what an empath is. And for anyone who's listening that doesn't know, an empath is a person that just kind of, it's like an antenna. You just pick up everybody's emotions around you. And, you walk into a room and you're suddenly angry and you're like, this isn't my anger. I'm not, what is going on? And then you realize you can kind of do a little detective work usually and figure out who it is. But when I started to discover what it was about, just knowing that and realizing it, that helped me. So now when I go to the mall, I'm in a store and I'm standing next to a lady and I'm like, holy cow, she's unhappy. And, I just sort of say a prayer for her and then I move away.
Or you give her your business card and say, come see me.
See, now there, I'm not thinking like a business person.
That could be a very good source of new clients for you, the mall.
The mall. I'm just going to wander the mall now. Excuse me, ma'am. You look really mad.
Yeah, just look at handbags. If it's like Prada or, I think the angrier people are, the more money they spend on handbags. That's just my personal theory.
You know what? My theory is that I'm picking up the men who are there with the women. Like all these sort of angry husbands and boyfriends carrying bags and purses. Yeah, I wonder about that.
This has been wonderful. I need to take us out for the show this week. Our guest has been Robbie Ann McPherson. You can reach her at whichwaytarot.com. She is a solution-oriented tarot card reader. It's a lot of fun. It's helpful. I know it's for information purposes only, but I swear by it. Next week, we are going to bring on some money makers. We're going to bring on Greg Wellborn, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about some strategies for retirement planning that we can start in our 40s and our 50s. And we're going to have a visit from Michael Russer, our intimacy expert. So you're not going to want to miss it. Catch us next week.
We're so glad you joined us for Powered Up with Beck and Franklin. Sandra Beck, Los Angeles-based single mother and technology company owner, knows what it's like to be fit, funny, and fantastic in your 40s. Linda Franklin, a New Yorker with a successful marriage and